Okay, so the purpose of this video is to start talking about how to put your 4mm bars on. At the end of the last video, we talked about putting all of your gusset plates on. I can't quite get far enough away from this, but I pointed out that you want gusset plates on the bottom, you want gusset plates on the top, nothing in the middle, and then on the next setup, you want them everywhere. You want them in the middle, you want them on the bottom, you want them on the top, you want them everywhere. So that should happen. So now, what we're going to do from here, and I'm going to do some of this, and then I'll come back with it completed like I did in the other videos. So what we want now is we want to start putting our 4mm bars on. You can kind of see, if you set your 4mm bar on here, right, that's the strips, right? They're not tubes, they're not ones that we had to glue and fold. But that's, so they're like that. Oh, you can't see because we're not in the same place. We're there, I guess. Do this. Okay, so I set a 4mm bar here, right? And there's a 4mm bar that goes here. But if you notice, like, so for this one, it fit perfect. This one's a little bit bigger. That's because these verticals are 10x6 tubes. So the two outside pieces, right? Can't see that finger. Two outside pieces are bars, and then it's tube, tube, tube. These are tubes around the outside. These verticals are tubes. These are diagonals. You can kind of see. And like I said, one, it shows it in the book, and two, you can look at my next video, the one after this, and you'll see like a completed where all of the bars went setup. So just to talk about how to take care of a few of them. One of the things I like to do, and you can tell that somebody has done this in the past, is kind of take a splotch of glue and put it on your board. Just make sure it's on the wax paper and that it's nowhere near anything that like is important to you and that you're worried about like making a mess of, right? So I'm just going to put some glue on here. And then I'm going to put my 4mm bars in. I'm going to start with the bottom cord. That's the piece, obviously, at the bottom. And a couple different ways we can do it. So, like, for this, I'm going to need, like, some kind of an applicator. So let's see. I don't know. Maybe I'll have another little piece of cardboard here, right? So I'm going to take just this random piece that I had laying around, dip it in there a little bit, and then I'm going to put some on the gusset plates where the 4mm bar is going to touch. Right, just in those spots. And you want to put kind of, just the right amount. You put too much on, you're going to have problems where your bridge weighs too much. If you don't put enough on, it's not going to stick. So there's no exact number for me to tell you. You just want to make sure that you use a moderate amount and not an excessive amount. So same thing here. And of course, I just touched that one with my finger. You can see me. I think you can. Do a little more of that. I'm going to go all the way across because what's going to happen is for almost all the other ones, they get cut, but the bottom cord is kind of the full length. They might have to get cut just a hair, but not much. One of the things we found out through the years, too, is that you want to make sure you do put the right amount of glue on because the glue doesn't do it. If something doesn't stick, you've sort of created a surface now where you have glue on glue. And when you try to put more glue on it, it doesn't adhere well to like glue doesn't adhere well to old glue, if that makes any sense. It adheres well to manila folder because it's porous, right? It can kind of get in all those little cracks and crevices, but it has a hard time getting in to its own like smooth surface that it then would have created. So let's go through and do that all the way across. And then smear it on a little bit, trying to take off any little bit extra that's sort of spilling out. You don't need it, and it's going to make, just for like not a great surface. So, and also mine went a little bit long here, so I'm going to cut this piece so that I have room for the next one. So then I'll go through and I'll grab my other 4mm bar because we're going to end up going, that's a bottom cord that's going to go all the way across. You got to make sure too, like, so if you notice on this one on the end, walking over here where you can't see as well. This one on the end, this tube goes all the way, this tube that's going to go on here eventually is going to sit through here. So I want to try to keep my bar out of the way of it because I want my bar to be able to sit on there well. That's probably the best way I can explain it. And then I'm going to cut this one to size. And have that sit on there. Now, if it sticks and it sets down nice and well and you don't feel like it's going to come up, you could just leave it. Any spot where you feel like you're getting some puckering, right, where it doesn't want to lay down, take a pin. And, oh, of course it just came. It gets kind of tricky because your finger sticks to sort of everything once you get the glue going. I want to put a little more glue on there because that wants to come off a little. And then I'm going to put a pin in between both of those to help it hold down. I'll try to wipe off the excess without making a mess. The rest of them I think are pretty good. They're laying down pretty decent. So that's the bottom chord. Now we're going to talk about the verticals, which I think you can see me. So I know that I need like glue on this one, so I just dipped my actual member in a little bit of glue. Just make sure you don't overdo it. And I'm going to set this on here. Maybe I'll lay that up there so I can get a little more glue on. So I'll put some glue on the bottom here. And then set my 4mm bar down. I'll wipe off the excess, which I have a fair amount of on this one. And I'm going to clip it right at the bottom, and I want to try to let it sit flat on the gusset plate. Doesn't need to go all the way down. It just needs to go enough on the gusset plate where you feel like it's going to grab. I mean, that connection is what holds the bridge up from separating. So as long as it doesn't separate, you're good. So there's a pretty good vertical. So let's deal with all of the diagonals on the bridge, the entire bridge, except for the outside ones. All of them are 4mm bars. So let's go on here. Okay, just kind of in trouble here. We should have enough just random pieces laying around to use this. I don't know how much longer I'll be able to make this manila folder work. I might want to switch to some other kind of applique. If you pour it directly out of the glue bottle, I found that it doesn't hold up well. It gets to be too, you end up putting way more glue on there than you want. And again, like weight matters. Like the biggest thing is your efficiency numbers. So you want to try not to overdo it there. You also notice some of my pins are coming out as I go. I mean, if you can get it to hold in place, if it'll just sit there, that's okay. Right? If it'll stay exactly over the top of the old gusset plate, then that's good. It's just whether or not it's going to do that for you. And even just once the glue starts to get tacky, that situation is going to, whoops, like we just pulled that off. That situation is going to continue to improve. So there's a diagonal. So we would continue that on this whole bridge, right? Vertical, diagonal, not vertical because that's a 10x6. Diagonal, 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 vertical because that's on the outside. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Bottom chord all the way across. Vertical, diagonal, no, vertical, sorry, diagonal, no, diagonal, no, diagonal, yes. And that's the whole side. Then we have to do, and then you do the same thing on the other sheet, right? We'll bring over the other sheet that we have, right? This one that we did from before. And you'll do all of the bars on the top, all of the bars on the bottom. On this one, you won't do the middle. You remember we said we're only going to do the middle on one side. So that would be now. I'm going to just show you where these go rather than have you watch me glue them. But all of the diagonals go here and here. All of the diagonals are 4mm bars. Make sure that you're leaving space for the tubes to get through. So when you put your, let me use over here, when you put your diagonal on, don't put it all the way down, right? Because all the way down is where, and this isn't exactly where they go, because it's more going to happen on top, but you need to leave room for a 6x6 tube that is going to have to touch on that gusset plate. So this one here, you don't want this sitting on top of that. You want the 4mm bar to come in under there, if you can kind of see that. That's what I mean. So, other than that, I think it should be good. If you have any questions, obviously ask. Otherwise, good luck, and we'll pop in and show you all those 4mm bars glued on at the start of the next video.